This video is about bicycle touring in Colombia. It shows the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hello and welcome. It's Bicycle Touring Talk Colombia series. My name is George Schlacek. And in this series I'm talking about the tour Barbara and I did in early 2019 when we set out from Bogota, that nation's capital, in the mountains to Santa Marta and beyond on the Caribbean shores. This part of the journey begins January 22nd. We had arrived at a small roadside motel the afternoon prior after a rough ride through lots of construction zones and a lot of heavy truck traffic. The morning started with a small snack in our room and then some complimentary tinto, standard Colombian coffee, downstairs. We got going around 6 a.m. when it wasn't that hot yet. The ride started off with a long hill on a relatively narrow shoulder.
First hill of the day. It's not bad.
Soon after, we passed a sign telling us exactly how far we still had to go.
507. So we're like kind of halfway there. After 2 weeks today that we left Bogota.
The road was still just 2 lanes and we were pretty much prepared to live with it, knowing that trucks would pass us again and again with very little space all day long. Highway 45, La Ruta del Sol, is one of Colombia's major transportation routes and as such, perhaps not that well suited for bicycle touring. There are some advantages though. One of them are the many truck stops with affordable accommodation and food. We stopped at such a restaurant for breakfast. It looked clean, large, and inviting. But we got a surprise here. When we tried to lean our bikes against the columns at the entrance, a man, apparently the owner, approached us and told us we couldn't park our bikes there. When I asked where we could, I was basically told that we weren't welcome there. I'm not sure if the problem was that we had bikes or that we were gringos trying to obstruct his entrance. We left the place, shaking our heads, going straight for the much smaller restaurant next door. Here we were welcomed with open arms, and the food was good too. After breakfast, it was already quite warm. The ride continued on the 2-lane highway for a while. But then we noticed signs of past road construction off to the side. It looked like they had started preparations for twinning the highway, but stopped and abandoned it some time ago. Could we possibly ride on there? While there was an overgrown gravel trail, it looked quite rough. A bit further down the road though, we found a perfectly paved new road that had been built nearly to completion, but never opened to traffic. We had our private bicycle highway again, similar to the one we had ridden between Puerto Servies and Puerto Boyaca days earlier. We enjoyed this perk on and off throughout the day. There wasn't any construction ongoing, and some of the zones had gravel, but were still preferable to the narrow shoulder on the main road. Some sections of the highway were also fully completed 4-lane expressway. Those unofficial stretches were so enjoyable, so maybe Route 45 isn't that unsuitable for bicycle touring after all. Maybe one day enough people will understand the value of a bicycle trail that is separated from the road. I had to throw that in. On one of those new parts, we passed a huge iguana that sort of froze in our presence. What an amazing creature.
You're just gonna go for a nap, eh? Good idea.
Overall, the terrain was pretty flat and it was an easy cycling day. Much of the land was agricultural, with cows grazing and looking at us like we were from Mars, and a lot of palm tree plantations. Ahead of us in the distance, we could see big mountains. It made us wonder what to expect going forward.
We should be really close to San Alberto.
But we were also getting very close to San Alberto. After coming off a stretch of newly paved bicycle road, we saw a guy with a restaurant sign guiding us to another beautiful open place under a big tin roof. Service was friendly and we decided to have our lunch. We were definitely overdue for some cold liquids and probably drank a liter of fruit-flavored water each. San Alberto wasn't too far, so we took our time. Trucks for the nearby palm tree plantation kept rolling by, stirring up the dust in the gravel lot. Some of them were antique American models that looked great. After our meal, we only had to go down the road a short distance to reach the San Alberto turnoff. We were not the only cyclists rolling into town, and some kids seemed to enjoy racing with us. San Alberto was a busy little town. The first hotel we stopped at looked quite nice, but they didn't have any rooms left, so we were guided toward another, smaller place down a side road. This was good because that hotel was very well maintained and affordable. The room was a little on the small side, but we managed to get our bikes parked in there. We enjoyed a cold shower, followed by some relaxation in the air-conditioned room until the sun went down. Then we went for a walk around town, hoping to find some place to have supper. There didn't seem to be much in terms of restaurants, but we discovered a great burger joint that also had freshly squeezed orange juice. We were really tired that night, so after walking back to our hotel, I don't even remember anything. We probably tried to watch a movie on Barbara's iPad before passing out. But once again, we set the alarm for 5 a.m. the next morning. Where were we gonna go the next day? Were there gonna be mountains? I'll cover all that and more in episode 134. Look for it next week. In the meantime, check out the growing Colombia playlist to catch up on previous episodes. Your comments are always appreciated, and I usually try to respond. Feel free to ask me anything about touring, Colombia, or whatever. You can support me by hitting the like button, subscribing, super thanks below, or buy me a coffee. You may also find affiliate links in the description that may or may not be relevant. I don't take stuff too seriously, so sometimes you'll see stuff thrown in there for the heck of it, like Colombian coffee, for example. Oh, it's great. Why not get some? You also have a link to buy me coffee, which is basically a donation. Thank you.
Gracias.
Merci. Dankeschön.